And we are ready now for our first match of the top four here. We're going to be watching Vendorty, who just won the Sett mirror match, battle against the sleeper deck here, the potential true champion, Volibear, at the hands of LND Migan. Let's take a look at these deck lists and see what we've got going on.
Yeah, here we go. We can see the initial breakdown here. Of course, we saw Vendorty's list there before, that 10 body, 2 order runes here. And we're looking at Volibear, the 6/6 split here. Very, very common. But let's take a look at our first deck here. That is going to be the Vendorty deck that we just saw here. And Anu, I mean, we saw it, the Sett Brawler focused build end up being quite strong in the mirror match. What do you think about it in the match against Volley?
Yeah, I think we're going to see, for the same reason that Sett was great, the Brawler in the mirror match, it'll also be good against Volibear. The big thing about Volibear is that it puts out some really big creatures, and being able to consume buffs for the additional might makes Sett Brawler absolutely fantastic in this matchup. A couple other observations here. We are slowly migrating to main deck triple copy of Sabotage, and I'm going to give a shout out to the Kinko Monk as well as another card that, you know, is slowly creeping into these deck lists. Now, why don't we take a look at what everyone really wants to see, which is that sweet, sweet Volibear deck list.
Oh, yeah. Now, of course, we're seeing in the sideboard that is a Dazzling Aurora, so not in the main deck. We are, of course, seeing a couple of Sabotages in the main here. The MF, the Dariuses. We're seeing Kadrigan as a big, big drop, which we've seen a lot in Volibear decks, but I've not personally played with it when you're not main decking the Dazzling Aurora, so that'll be an interesting one to see.
Yeah, I guess one thing that I'm pretty excited to see is that this is a deck that is really geared game one into the fair plan. So you've got, you know, your typical top end, but you've also got copies of like Mobilize and even cards like Vi Destructive to sort of cement your mid game, get to your mid game, then cement it, and then, you know, lead the way into the final places here, the final turns. And then I guess going into game 2 and 3, you've got that transformational sideboard potentially, which is one of the first times I've seen it in Riftbound. But again, I think the players are ready. Let's go ahead and see how this actually plays out. Now, keep in mind, with the modified starting rules here, Vendorty is our 8th seed, which means that Migan will have the choice of going first or second. Let's see what they choose. All right, so players are here. Vendorty with Reckoner's Arena and Migan here with Aspirant's Climb, which is kind of interesting. Sort of tells you the positioning, the posturing that our Volibear player is taking in the matchup, suggesting that, you know what, we want a little bit of time to breathe and develop our runes and get our top end into play here. How do you feel about that Reckoner's Arena, though?
Yeah, Reckoner's Arena is certainly a strong one here. We see Volley coming up. Everyone wants to see our boy Volley. The thing I want to point out about this matchup is Sett wants to go fast in this matchup. The later the game goes, the better it is for Volibear. So I think we're going to see all-out aggression from the Sett player and Volley just trying to keep up.
Yeah, this is super interesting because Volibear has chosen to go second to get that extra rune on their first turn, but Sett is punishing here with the turn 1 Daring Poro going into the Aspirant's Climb on turn 2, being followed up by Fiora. So kind of interesting development here. I think it's hard to say whether or not it's better to go wide in this matchup like we saw in our top 8 match, or if it's better to sort of really load up on some pretty strong threats here. And all right, looks like we have Misfortune coming into play here, proccing the Volibear passive to put a rune into play, and this is a brilliant start here from the Volibear side.
Yeah, it is, but also it is quite slow. We're going to potentially see the Volibear deck being down 3 points to 0, which, if we're going off of the Sett mirror match, could be a death knell being that far behind. But I think the Volibear deck obviously is going to play a bit different here. MF really sort of sets you up to play a big unit and then effectively give it accelerate via the Misfortune. And if Vendorty does not have an answer to whatever big drop Volibear has right now, it could put the Volibear deck right back in the driver's seat.
Is that another Sett pun, by the way? I'm just, now that I've seen one, I see them all. Yeah, it's very, very, very funny. And something here that I'm also kind of interested in is that on our second turn, we chose to play the Kinko Monk, and we didn't choose to put the Sett Brawler into play, which is kind of interesting. Maybe that's just an efficiency play here that we're looking for, because we also followed up with the Glory Seeker.
I think it is also a Fiora breakpoint, because Fiora now is going to get the buff up to 5, making her mighty, which then gives her shield, which makes it 6, which means it's not a Volibear would need something additional to be able to actually contest the Fiora here with the MF, which means going to have to go for the Aspirant's Climb, choosing not to play something else first, so the MF is actually not going to be able to ready anything here.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Let's take a look at the hand here to see what must have been causing this. As we saw a full... Oh, yeah, that's a Deadbloom Predator, by the way. But real quick,
okay.
Darius, Captain Farron, Catrigan, Mobilize, and Vi. So a very stacked hand here for our Volibear player. But on the other side, I think I saw 2 copies of Call to Glory, which is going to be really, really powerful.
Really quite powerful. And actually, the Deadbloom is played to the MF lane, not actually contesting the Fiora, really kind of calling out I probably lose the game entirely if there's a Call to Glory here. And, well, we know there's 2. So really heads up play by Migan there, saying, you know what, I'm going to solidify the other battlefield here. And, yeah, I'm going to be behind, but also, again, I don't care how many points they have unless they are going to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely, which is kind of an interesting way to play the game. But, it really does go to evaluate like that concept of inevitability and just who is actually quote unquote the beatdown. If you played other card games, is maybe like a phrase you've heard before, but the idea here is like, if we go to turn 1432, okay, or just any like late game turn, right, who's going to have the better board state? And if you find yourself often being that person that has the bigger creatures and more might, that should tell you that, that should affect the way you play the early game, because you can rely on your late game to win you the game. And you can sort of see that's how Migan is setting up for this turn, just really stockpiling onto that Aspirant's Climb. Now, this is a very scary attack with the Kinko Monk coming in and the Glory Seeker. And do we have effects in combat?
No, looks like this is just a resource trade, effectively saying, all right, we're going to take out the Predator here. We're going to save our Poro via Sett's ability, and now we can set up another attack. Fiora, of course, does have ganking when mighty, so could hop over and attack the MF. We know Volibear does not have access to free spells when... besides the Stormbreaker, I believe is the name of the card, but it's not free given their board right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the card is Sky Splitter. Is
Sky
the one
Splitter,
that can,
okay.
It reduces the cost based on like the might.
Production was great. I said the name of the wrong card.
But Stormbringer is also a really cool spell too. Sky Splitter is this is one of the cards that like I saw a lot of in the early preview season, because it was just like a really cool removal spell that dealt 5. Now, it doesn't see as much play, but yeah, Fiora's going to come in, take out the Misfortune, and we're going to see Darius come into play from the Volibear side. That's going to put a rune, thanks to the Volibear, into play for Migan.
Yep.
And now with Vi, we actually get to proc the Darius ability and send it crashing into the Aspirant's Climb.
Yeah, we do.
I catch that. Did you catch that? So the Sett actually readied there because of the second ability, which is you can ready Sett when you conquer. That happened when we beat the Misfortune.
Yep, you can absolutely ready, set, go here, as that Call to Glory is going to take out the Darius, and maybe a little maybe a little bluff there with Doesn't matter. I'm just gonna play Call of the Glory and kill your Darius.
Yeah, just the pencil trick, right? Like that kind
The
of
old
thing
pencil trick.
Yeah, which is really cool too. But now we can sort of see how, being second in this game gave Vendorty the ability to just slam like a wide board of creatures. And now look at that point discrepancy. It's 7 points for Sett to 1 for Volibear. And that's going to be it. Migan's going to scoop the game here. We're going to go into game number 2. So quickly, we'll take a look at sideboard options here for our first deck list.
Yeah, congrats to Vendorty taking a quick one. I mean, this is exactly how Vendorty drew it up, right? Like, go me set, me go fast, me bash face is exactly what he wanted to do. Looking at the sideboard, don't think Sett wants to go over the top in this one. Don't think Anivia is going to get in there. I don't think that the cannon barrages are going to make it either. I'm wondering if we want to do maybe a unit swap, take out something like Arena Bar. I don't know that you want to take out the sabotages because it's likely that the Dazzling Aurora is going to come in, and boy, does it feel nice to take out the Dazzling Aurora when you take it out with a single energy and sabotage.
Yeah, absolutely here. It's going to be interesting. I almost feel like, if Sett just gets to go first again and really has that same aggressive curve, Vendorty's going to be really happy. Let's take a look at the Volibear deck list and see what our options are for sideboarding. Now, one card you did point out was Dazzling Aurora. That's going to be paired with Gentleman's Duel, Cannon Barrage, and the third final copy of Sabotage. This is really interesting. Can you explain the sideboard Dazzling Aurora to me?
Yeah, I think it is potentially I'm looking at the rest of the deck. I'm trying to think, is it my opponents are assuming that I'm going to have Dazzling Aurora, so they are maybe playing around the fact that I have it, and you can punish that somehow. That is something that we see in other games, like really heavy control decks punishing players that think that you're going to play creatures, and you go, no, Nephalia Drownyard is my only win condition. I have 0 creatures, so all those terrors in your hand are useless.
You really are dating yourself with all these references, by the way. I love to hear it. Yeah,
I'm trying to go further and further back with every round.
But transformational sideboards are kind of interesting because, in a closed field, you're not going to see that punch coming. But in the top cut, we have access to open deck lists. And now, Vendorty's going to see, okay, well, there's Dazzling Aurora coming into play. Maybe I should reevaluate how I'm, approaching this game too. But that also allows for some crazy mind games where Migan might just be like, you know what? I'm just going to submit the same 40 cards and one-up you here in this game of trickery. So we'll see what happens here once the players are ready. We'll dive right into the match here. Any other thoughts going into our second game?
Yeah, I think the absolute blazing speed that match happened is telling for Migan to know that you cannot take the back foot. And it looks like we have an update here. Prismaticism with the Angie Pod, the Darius deck, winning 2-0 versus Master Yi and moving on to the finals. We've got a Darius in the finals. I'm so pumped. But we're not there yet, Anu. We have got game number 2 in our semifinals.
First things first, let's take a look at the opening hands here. So we're seeing from Vendorty's side, First Mate Kiana, Daring Poro, and the Kinko Monk. Doing a couple mulligans here from the Volibear side. Kadrigan making the cut, a 9 energy card staying in hand. And looks like we are boarding in the Gentleman's Duel, so this may be a precursor of things to come, but that's Blazing Scorcher, that's Sabotage, which to me reads no plays for the first 2 turns.
Yeah, you said Blazing Scorcher, and you meant the card, but I thought you meant what Sett is going to make of that hand, because, boy, are there going to be plays from Sett in the first few turns, and there sure aren't going to be effective turns from Volley, at least from what we saw. That is not the hand you want to see in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, taking a look at the battlefields, which is the second point of contention, that Vile Maws layer from the previous match is coming back in here to really just mess up that dynamic of conquering battlefields. Obelisk of Power is, kind of one of the bread and butter Volibear battlefields, is going to also be presented. And interestingly enough, this time Migan says, hey, all right, I'm going to go first this time. I'm going to have my 3 energy. I'm going to play my 5 energy spell on turn 2, and that's going to ramp me up. So we're looking at 7 energy as fast as turn 3, which is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I obviously was speaking in hyperbole, saying that they're not going to have early plays, because they obviously are. And now the Gentleman's Duel is online, and all of a sudden the Cadrigan is looking a lot more castable here in these coming turns. Sett, of course, needs to keep up the pressure, needs to keep up the resources here. Kiana is a fantastic way to do that. It's looking a lot trickier here for Vendorty, as the Volibear actually having early plays is not going to allow Vendorty to just set up this massive board and this massive point lead and just run away with it.
Yep, Kiana going to move into the Obelisk of Power. Using her ability, she's going to draw 1 card, not channel the rune here, which might suggest that either Vendorty is looking for more resources to go wide and not be bottlenecked by the amount of runes available.
Absolutely. Looking like the follow-up here, just getting stats in play for Sett here. It worked last game quite well, but it's obviously quite a different scenario here, as this is a scary turn, a pivotal turn for Migan here. What is the follow-up going to be? How much board presence can you set up, either from effectively building your board or by using that Gentleman's Duel to take out Vendorty's board here?
Yeah, kind of interesting here. We'll see what ends up happening here. I mean, unfortunately, this turn, we can't actually put Cadrigan into play. We're just 1 energy short here. And then the next question is if we move the Blazing Scorcher into the Obelisk to contest the battlefield, what's the output going to be? Are we okay with a trade here, or are we actually looking for the Kiana to recall so we can score our first point? Because we saw what happened in that first game. There was a major point discrepancy, and we cannot fall behind again like we did last time.
Yeah, there is, but the Kiana, like, just effectively trading your only board presence for a buff and a power feels horrific. If you are Migan, I mean, it may be necessary, but boy, does it not feel great. We're gonna open up with a sabotage, though. See what Vendorty's working with.
Yep, and the hand is going to be Kinko Monk, First Mate, Showstopper, and Fiora. So we're going to take that Showstopper, which is probably pretty good here for Migan. And then we have a couple other units that we need to deal with. The key decision point here, though, is that, we've set ourselves up. So next turn we have access to 9 energy, which is, mathematically is great. It's great for the Calder. So, like, very, very good lining up of resources here from Migan's side. Kind of explains how we made it all the way to the top 4. Now the next question is with this information, how does that change our next decision, which is, do we go into combat, or do we stay in base? Or I'll even put a third option out there. What about the Vile Maws layer?
Yeah, the Vile Maws layer doesn't feel horrible. It gets you on the board. It keeps you sort of at point acceleration, point parity here. It, of course, does lock you in to that Vile Maws layer. We need a Vendorty now. Of course, the top of the deck, could it change that? But on the field, there could be a trade. It would be 5 for 5. But that is not going to be the case here, as we see the Snapvine trade off or kill the Kiana there, or at least force the Sett.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the Snapvine, be that sort of button pusher here to say, like, all right, I'm going to put the decision back in your hands. What are you going to do? But the part that really gets me is we put the Snapvine in the Vile Mausoleer. What? Those are 2 units that we no longer have access to now.
Yeah, but that is true. But we've got 11 might in the Vile Mausoleer. Probably don't need to put anything else in there. And it is a lot of resources for Vendorty to actually contest that. And also, even if you do, it's like, it's the Vile Mausoleer. You kind of don't want to, right? How much is Vendorty going to have left over? So now it effectively can shift the game over to, okay, we're fighting over the other battlefield, but also I'm winning